Okay, today we are at 216 Emory Street in Baltimore, Maryland, and we are looking at the home where Babe Ruth was born here in Baltimore. Now, as you know, Babe Ruth was one of, if not the greatest baseball player of all time, a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he's well known for his time with the New York Yankees. But Babe was born here in Baltimore, unwanted by his parents, ended up playing at St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys, where he was noticed by the Baltimore Orioles. And then he was sold to the Red Sox, and then finally in 1923 sold to the New York Yankees, where he made the most of his career. This is the house that George Herman Babe Ruth was born in 1895. And as we walk across the street, we'll look at the stained glass above the window of the door that has the number 216, which is 216 Emory Street. Today, Babe Ruth's birthplace is actually a museum, and we're going to go ahead and take a look inside this museum in just a moment. And again, here is the number 216 above the door, and we'll see it from the inside as well. So now we're in the house, and you can see the 216 up there on the door. And this would have been the parlor that you would have walked in as soon as you come in the door. Again, today the museum, or the house rather, has been stored as a museum. And here we're looking at a bat and a jersey that Babe Ruth wore when he played for St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys. They were troubled youth. There is his crucifix when he was married, and of course some pictures of him when he played at St. Mary's. So you can come here and visit this museum. It's about 15 bucks to come inside. And there's a lot of artifacts, including the actual bedroom right here where he was born on February the 6th, 1895. Let's take a look. So this is the bedroom on the second floor of the home, pretty much above the front door, where Babe Ruth was born on February the 6th, 1895. Babe Ruth, again, considered to be one of the greatest or the greatest baseball player of all time. He's definitely most popular baseball and probably far ahead of his time. At one point in his career, he had more home runs than the rest of every single team in Major League Baseball.
It happened at Chicago's hallowed Wrigley Field on a bright and sunny autumn afternoon. It was orchestrated by baseball's all-time immortal. Indeed, it helped define his immortality, and it's as controversial today as it was the day it happened, October 1st, 1932. Hello, I'm John Miller, and the it I'm referring to is, of course, Babe Ruth's legendary called shot home run. It's a shot heard round the world and forever in the course of baseball annals.
The legend is that Babe Ruth pointed to center field in the fifth inning, came against the Cubs, and showed where he was going to hit the ball, and then did so. That's the story.
Game 3 of the 1932 World Series, Yanks versus Cubs, with all the pomp and ceremony of the Fall Classic. Presidential candidate Franklin Delano Roosevelt was there to toss out the first pitch. There was an added intensity at Wrigley that day, brought on by a running feud between Ruth and the Cubs. The Bambino had accused his opponents of being cheapskates for not voting a full World Series share to their part-time players, including the former Yankee, Mark Koenig, who'd come over in a trade earlier that year. Sports writer Grantland Rice wrote that Chicago's sunny atmosphere was full of sulfur. Ruth had put together a pretty respectable season by his standards. In Chicago, he seemed energized from the very beginning. He pumped 9 batting practice balls into the cheap seats, and he topped that with a 3-run homer in the first inning. After barely missing another round tripper his next time up, he came to the plate in the 5th, score tied at 4 with 1 out. Cubs pitcher Charlie Ruth started the battle with a hard fastball right down the middle for a called strike. The Babe responded by extending his right hand, one finger raised, as if to acknowledge the count. With the bench jockeying cascading for both sides, Ruth teased Ruth with 2 balls before he slipped another strike by the slugger. So, Ruth and Ruth arrived at the threshold of one of baseball's quintessential moments. With the packed house cheering and jeering him on, Ruth held up 2 fingers. As this rare home movie shows, he gestured in the direction of Charlie Ruth. Or is it the Cubs bench? Or is he pointing to center field? And what we see next has to go down as one of the great feats in the history of the World Series. Listen in as the Babe himself recalls that epic moment.
Well, I stepped out of the car, and by that time they were looking at me.
Oh, he was in the first class.
This call right past the plate. Well,
What?
good Lord.
As we watch him circle the bases, there is no question that he knows he has accomplished something extraordinary. The longest home run in Wrigley Field history, stroked with a vengeance. And still, the question lingers, did he or didn't he?
Pitcher threw the ball. Charlie Ruth, fine pitcher, swore that Ruth never did it in some way because of the razzle that he was the man in the on-deck circle, a man named Gary, swears Ruth did it. The next day he said, wasn't that something, that big monkey calling for a shot and then hitting it? People are going to believe it if they want to believe it. A great many people do.
The first time.
We will never know the truth. The fact is, it was either true or it should have been.
And that was Babe's called shot in the 1932 World Series. This is the actual baseball from that event in 1932. These are some of Babe's early bats that he used here. And of course he used Louisville Slugger, which is still today being used in Major League Baseball. So we could take a look at here of some of the Babe's bats. And for his size and strength, he used a very, very large bat at the time. And he was very particular, didn't want anybody to use his bats. This is actually a seat from the original Yankee Stadium, which was called the house that Ruth built. So this is one of his 60 home runs that he hit in 1927, which was a record at the time for a season. 60 home runs in one season. And it stood for years until Roger Maris beat it in 1961.